It's officially trade deadline day. Now this day for Ryan Poles to show what he's been doing and how he views this team. There's a lot of people that are going to be looking at Ryan Poles and the moves that he makes, or even for that matter, does not make today on trade deadline day. So we're going to go over all the rumors and things and potential targets for the Chicago Bears and dive a little bit into the mailbag today. Let's go ahead and get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And we're going to start off with trade rumors and things like that have been talked about. Jay Glazer was among several who called for the Chicago Bears to be aggressive on today's trade deadline day, and then said that the Bears are looking for defensive help, specifically when it comes to their pass rush. And that shouldn't really come as a big surprise for the Chicago Bears. We know that the pass rush has been something that we've had questions about even going into the season before the season even started. And with Dayo Odeyingbo's injury that's going to leave him out now the remainder of the season, that becomes even more of a pressing need for the Chicago Bears at the early part of the season. Reportedly, the Chicago Bears did discuss a trade for Jaelan Phillips, but unfortunately, it looks like the Miami Dolphins decided to go ahead and move him into other places. So while the Bears seem like they've already kind of shown their hands on where their kind of focus is on trade deadline day, with them having conversations with the Miami Dolphins on Jaelan Phillips, but then it seems that the Eagles went on and traded for him in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick on Monday morning. They did that, and so that's a huge blow, right? Because I talked about Jaelan Phillips and what he could bring to this team, and I think he is somebody that could have definitely helped this team with the pass rush. Does he completely turn it upside on his head? No, but he does provide another guy in there that can get consistent pressure, and that's really what the Bears are looking for. If the Bears would have been able to add Jaelan Phillips with having Montez Sweat in the way that Montez has been playing better and the returning Austin Booker, would have been a nice little combination there. And so that came from Brad Biggs, that did say that the Chicago did discuss a potential move there, and they didn't get him for a third-round pick. Now, the question comes, was the price too rich for the Chicago Bears, or did the Philadelphia Eagles just pull the trigger faster while the Bears were still trying to survey and kind of look at everything that they have out there? We don't know that. I'm sure some details will come out of that, as they always do after the trade deadline. We'll hear just how close the Bears were to actually making that move that we want to see them make, but at the end of the day, it didn't get done. They didn't make the move, and that's just where we stand right now. The move did not get done, and now the Bears sit in a place right now where they're going to have to figure it out, and we'll see what happens with that. But that does show us the biggest needs for the Chicago Bears at this trade deadline. I think both are defensive. I think you're looking at an edge rusher and some cornerback depth as well. I was somebody who didn't think that the Bears needed to go after a cornerback for a while there, but that was before Kyler Gordon got placed on injured reserve as well. We still don't have an update on Jalen Johnson. So I do think when you see, especially with Nashawn Wright not looking good, Tyreek Stevenson is 100%. Those may be the two things that are at the top of the Chicago Bears board, going into this trade deadline, with the outside chance of maybe a running back being there as well. But I think we've kind of moved on from the running back pursuit in regards to like how the media has talked about it. But again, it could be something that may be on the table for the Bears, and they may look at trying to go after and get. But I think edge rusher and cornerback are two of the more pressing needs. And the question comes down at what are the Bears willing to give up for? Now, as far as the Bears trade assets, we had talked about the Bears potentially moving Braxton Jones, with left tackles being, a position that is kind of coveted around the NFL, even with Braxton not necessarily being the most consistent. But with him being on injured reserve, I think that option has kind of gone away now. And that means that Braxton is not going to be moved. So, you're not looking at that. And I had hoped that if the Bears were to move Braxton Jones, that they would kind of use what they get back from him as more assets that they can move at this year's trade deadline. So I'm at the place where I don't want to see the Bears give up a first or second round pick, especially not next year's draft. Maybe if you're talking about further down the road where the Bears, maybe 2027, where the Bears, have more time to kind of continue to add to this team. But I just think we're at the place right now, and I said this on yesterday's live stream, after it was announced that Dayo was going to be out for the rest of the season, is that with where the Bears are right now, we have still some big questions with the roster. I'm not willing to give up a first or second round pick. That's just not where I am with this team. I don't think this team can afford to give that up this year because I think things are just too big for this team to be able to do that. So because of that, I think you got to look at this thing and say, all right, what's the future going to hold for this Bears team? Like we have maybe a running back question we need to answer next year, maybe an edge rusher that we need to answer more permanently, a long-term solution there is Montez Sweat's going to have another year off his deal. Safeties are still a thing where the Bears can look at. We don't know the future of Kevin Byard or Jaquan Brisker, right? So I'm not willing to give up a first or second round pick. I am willing to give up a third round pick going forward, depending on what you get back. You just got to make sure you're bringing something in that definitely helps your team improve at this part of the season, and we'll see. So edge rusher, cornerback, that's the two biggest needs for me for the Chicago Bears. And I think right now when you look at the Bears, they're in the middle of the pack as far as sacks. We have 17 sacks on the season. Montez Sweat looks like he's starting to hit his stride, which is really good. He has 3 sacks in the last 3 games. So it seems like Montez is starting to get up there. Dayo's now out with that Achilles injury. So now with Austin Booker's return, you need those reinforcements there. And as far as cornerbacks, Jaylon Johnson and Kyler Gordon are both on injured reserve. We don't know when they're going to return. And so because of that, it looks like that's where we're looking at the Bears to make some moves at. So with that said, where are some of the targets at for the Chicago Bears, right? One of the potential targets for the Bears was Riq Woolen with the Seattle Seahawks, and he's been mentioned as somebody that the Bears could go after and could be interested in, and he is a target for a lot of teams that need cornerback help. But it looks like with the Joe Job concussion in Week 9, that now looks like maybe they're not necessarily looking as much to move on from Riq Woolen, even with Witherspoon returning from that, so they may not be looking for that. Now, if you were able, Woolen provides the exact type of prototypical corner that Dennis Allen likes as a system. He's physical, he's strong, he has that long frame as well, right? So he would be somebody that would pair with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and then we'd basically have kind of the I don't want to call it Timu because those guys are still very productive, but we'd have a facsimile of what we wanted to bring with Jaylon Johnson and Kyler Gordon if we were able to do that. Tyreek Stevenson is still here as well. And so you look at Woolen, who would add some much-needed depth and talent there, but with Job's concussion, it does not seem like Riq Woolen may be on the move, or do the Bears have to entice them a little bit more? The question then comes down, again, to that word that I like to use, risk tolerance for the Chicago Bears and how they view their risk tolerance on what they're willing to give up to get somebody like Riq Woolen in here. And that's what we'll see what it comes down to. Woolen's also in the final year of a rookie contract, so he's somebody that if you do view as part of your long term, you can re-sign him at the end of the year, and you have that added depth there. Now the Bears, they got to make decisions on Terrell Smith, Tyreek Stevenson coming up soon. Jaylon Johnson's locked in. We just got Kyler Gordon locked in. You still got Zay Frazier as well, who you drafted. The Bears have a lot of talented cornerbacks that are out right now, right? And guys that are actually a part of the Chicago Bears' future. But Woolen could fit in that as well. And with Dennis Allen and his propensity to use a lot of defensive backs out there, it could get creative. And even with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we know that we just signed him. He doesn't have a multi-year deal, but his ability to play corner and safety could actually put him back here, even though he's better in the slot at the nickel. So, we'll see. But the Bears have a chance to go out there and get somebody. The question is, can they be aggressive and can they entice the Seahawks enough to want to give him up, even with Josh Job's concussion? So, we'll see that. It doesn't seem like it's likely via what we're hearing right now, but we'll see what's going to happen here. One of the biggest questions comes down to what and how aggressive should the Chicago Bears be at the trade deadline? And Dan Graziano from ESPN, he asked this: should the Bears ask Bengals if they would let Trey Hendrickson get on the plane to come back to Chicago with them? Now, this is the type of aggressive move that would take a day one pick to get Trey Hendrickson in here, right? And so I know that Bears fans, you're going to hear a lot of different responses and views on what the Chicago Bears should do with somebody like a Trey Hendrickson, right? And it comes down to this when it comes down to Trey, right? Trey is a player that there's no doubt how he changes the outlook of a defense. The question is, would the Bears be willing to then give up the draft capital and then the contract as well as it would take to get him in here and to keep him here? Now, Graziano said this directly. It's probably moot because the Bengals have been telling everyone who has asked since the offseason that they aren't interested in trading Hendrickson. But if he does turn out to be available, Chicago should at least ask. It's a 2-month acquisition because Hendrickson is not signed beyond this season. And the Bears may have failed a rebuilding team long term with Williams in his second year and Ben Johnson in his first. So here's the thing, right? Hendrickson is, when you hear the money that he's looking for, should the Bears be willing to pay that? Now, it does seem as well like there's a chance that he may just be available in free agency. And should the Bears, rather than give up the draft assets to acquire him now, should they be a little bit more patient and just wait to free agency? I'm of the mind, and I have this thing, and I said this on the live stream yesterday as well, I'm of the mind that you do not give up a ton of assets just to become a playoff team. You become that playoff team first, and then that gives you a little bit more latitude in how you view your future assets before you be willing to make an acquisition like that. And with Trey Hendrickson also being a free agent at the end of the year, it just, all those things pair. Now, if Hendrickson was signed for another 2 years after the season or something like this, maybe my palate for it would be a little bit, better for that. But I think where it stands right now, I just don't want to see the Bears, go all in on something before we even really know that this is going to be a team that's going to compete. Now, one could say that, well, Haize, you get Hendrickson, you're a playoff team. Yeah, but then you've given up assets already, and you have to try to re-sign them, and then they're going to cut into the money as well. And that double dip of things is where I sit. Now, how aggressive should Ryan Poles be? It really depends on your perspective on where you see the Bears and how you see the Bears should be going all in or making a move as things stand right now. And that's where the question stands for the Chicago Bears. But, at the end of the day, I look at this and I say personally, I just want to see my team right now. I want to see them make smart acquisitions. I said it at the top of the show. I am more apt at giving away a third-round pick and on. I'm fine with that. But keep your first and your second-round picks. That's where I'm at with that right now. Keep those because those are prime picks. Not to say that you can't get, Max Crosby, somebody that was drafted in the 4th round. If you scout well, you can find talent all over the draft. As one of my lights die, it is what it is. It's trade deadline day. I'll charge it later. But that's where you sit with things. And so, we'll see where it goes overall for the Bears. But as it stands right now, I'm not willing to do that. But Ryan Poles may view it differently. So the question I want to throw to you guys, how aggressive do you think that Ryan Poles should be leading into this trade deadline? Should he be as aggressive to be willing to give up a second-round pick or even a first-round pick if the situation is right? Or do you want to see him make calculated risk, right, where it's smart without really giving up some of your best assets in the summer? Because, again, those trades could be there in the summer. If the Bears do, let's say, somehow make it into the playoffs this year, let's say they win a playoff game, then at that point, maybe you are a little bit more flexible with your picks in the offseason. And you can do that too. So that's just kind of where I sit with things personally. That's my personal view on it. But I'd love to hear from you guys on it down below. How do you feel? What do you think they should do? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, Ben Johnson may have already signaled where the Bears' focus is. And I think when you add in the Jaelan Phillips, the fact that they've discussed that. But Ben Johnson was talking to Courtney Croney yesterday, and he said this. It's one of those deals that we feel like we need to take strides in particular positions, and we take some steps back. It's wild. Felt like we had a solution with Shamar at defensive end a couple of weeks ago, and then we lost him, and then finally get Austin Booker back, and then we lose Dayo. So it's a little bit of give and take. You can never have too many pass rushers. You can never have too many cover players in the back end either. So that's how I've always felt. Since I've been in the league, I know Ryan and his crew have been doing their due diligence all throughout the fall. All up until tomorrow to make sure that we turn over every stone to make sure that if there's any way we can improve this roster, we'll do that. So I think when you see from Ben Johnson and what he heard, again, pass rushers and cover and cornerbacks. That's really what I'm taking away from what Ben Johnson said there. And I can't be mad at that. I think those are two of the biggest and glaring needs for the Bears. Now we just got to figure out how we're going to go out and acquire those guys. And if we do, how does that benefit this team on this run now over the last 9 games of the season so that we can get some shit done? And that's what it comes down to. Now, let's go out there, let's get it done, and let's have some success. And hopefully, the Chicago Bears can walk away, from this trade deadline with something that improves their team and helps us take a step in that right direction. At least let's hope so. All right, with that said, we got 2 voicemails today. Let's go ahead and get into the first one. This one's from Hannah.
Hey, what's up? It's Hannah from St. Louis. Calling again because, first of all, thanks for saying what you said because it's super true. I grew up around football, like my brothers played, but I didn't really enjoy it because no one ever included me in conversation. I honestly had a lot of ADHD as a kid, so I couldn't sit and watch the damn game. I was like, yo, why is there so many breaks? But anyway. I just appreciate you saying that because it's really true. Like, I like this format that you have because I feel for you to, like, kind of talk about things that I never really have before. And I learned so much listening to you guys and all the other callers. So I just think that's super cool. But I really wanted to ask, because damn, that was such a thrilling game. I really, truly was so nervous at first because, especially with them getting that first, it was like, I'm pretty sure I turned on the TV and then that was happening, like off the punt, and I was like, holy shit, like, fuck. So anyway, that scared the shit out of me. And then, I'm a hashtag Swiftie. DeAndre Swift was not playing. And I was like, fuck. But all the rookies stepped up, like you were saying, and it was just turned out to be like such an exciting, thrilling game. So I was stoked. I just was gonna ask, because I know you had mentioned like Ben Johnson, like the play calling, and kind of all that tricks he has. And I'm curious if you think that it's because he has like those trick plays and all that kind of stuff, and he definitely relies heavily on them. I feel like. Do you think like that's sustainable for the rest of the season? And I'm just honestly wondering if y'all think it's sustainable because it's like he's obviously a great coach, but I don't know. I think the Bears just stress me out. Like there's never a game where I'm not like literally stressed the fuck out. So anyway, that's all I had for you. Thanks for mentioning me, and Chi-town up, bear down.
Hey, you don't have to thank us. Everything's equal here. Like we love anybody who loves the Bears. That's what we hear. We say we're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears, and that's really what we aim to do. And hopefully that we've done that. And I'm glad that you found a place that you feel like you can come listen to Bears talk and can be a part of the conversation. Now, as far as your question, are trick plays sustainable? I think they're sustainable in reason, right? Meaning that you don't want to go to a trick play every single game. You want to use them when it matters, when you feel like it gives you an advantage. The creative plays and trick plays are different things, right? So I want to see the Bears always be creative. And I think Ben Johnson is a very creative mind, and I always want to see him be creative. The trick plays, and I don't look at running DJ Moore as a running back as a trick play, right? I think that's getting creative in how you're using your personnel. But those trick plays, as far as DJ Moore passing to Caleb Williams, those are things that I think you want to go to in unique and specific situations. And I think when you start overdoing that, it becomes a gimmick. And that's just where I don't want to see. And I don't think Ben Johnson will do that, right? I'm never mad at Ben Johnson finding a way to get touchdowns or finding a way to get big plays. That's the thing. Like, always be creative. But as far as those trick gadget plays, I think that we're going to see them more consistently than what we ever have before because that's how creative Ben Johnson is. I just don't think it's something you necessarily need to go to every single game. Creative, not tricks. I think that's where the sweet spot is for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears offense in using those type of plays personally. But you guys, as always, can let me know how you feel on that down below. But that's kind of where I sit in it right now. But Ben Johnson's always going to be very creative. I have no real worries about that. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one is from Keys.
Yo, what's the deal, fellas? It's your boy Keys, man. Hope all is well with you guys. With that being said, let's get to it. So, after the highs of highs yesterday and winning that game against the Bengals, we are now, I won't even say the lows of lows, but man, them injuries starting to stack up. Last week it was Shamar Turner. This week is Dayo. We are getting a little depleted at one of the things that we need is pass rushers, guys that can fill gaps and, make plays. So, with this opportunity, and I feel for Dayo, even though he hasn't produced, like we've wanted him to, I look at this as an opportunity for Austin Booker. As if we don't go and trade for an edge, but I do think we're going to go trade for an edge. This is more than the opportunity for Austin Booker. You've been given the runaround about playing time and all of that from when DA said he liked his ends a certain style, but being a former football player myself, I know that there are anomalies. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you may not fit the mold, the criteria of what a coach may want. Sometimes you just got to go out there and prove it. And I think Sunday he really went out there and did his thing, man. And you better take advantage of it because you just don't know how much more chances you're going to get. So I'll pose this question for you, Haize, and I know you smart. You do all the research. I did my own, but I ain't going to overstep the mastermind of doing this. What player, because the trade deadline is tomorrow, what player do we see in the edge and at cornerback, if you ask me too? And I like Riq Woolen, and, that could be Alontae Taylor from the Saints. But what player at edge do you think we can go and get? I think some of the fans are of this anomaly where we going to spend all this draft capital, and I don't think we in the space to do that necessarily. And to me, I think it would honestly be dumb. I think we should take a book out of what the Rams have done, where they've drafted 5 young, great edge rushers and defensive tackles in the draft for their team, and, they just built upon that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give up a first or a second. I'll probably consider a third, depending on who we want to go get. But, Haize, who do you think is out there that we can go get, man? So, as always, let me know what you think. Shot town up, bear down.
Injuries have been a literally a part of the Bears story since before the regular season officially started. So why is it going to change now? Go out there, find your guys, and you got to have the next man up mentality. Losing Dayo Odeyingbo sucks from a depth perspective, right? Even though he didn't get a number of sacks, just having the depth there, that sucks, right? But you're right. This is a great opportunity for Austin Booker to come in here and show what he can do. And, he showed that in preseason. He showed that in one game back, and that's before he even gets fully in the rhythm. So it is up to Austin Booker to use this opportunity, right? And as far as the trade thing, I'm with you. I'm not giving up first or second round picks. And then thus, to answer your question on who the Bears can go after, I had Jaelan Phillips high on my list. I actually did an episode on him a couple of, I think, late last week. Riq Woolen is definitely another one, but I just don't see, again, I'd have to look outside the box right now. I'm not saying that there aren't some trade targets there for the Chicago Bears. There absolutely is. But again, I'm looking more at calculated risk than anything else. That's what I'm looking at when it comes down to it. And find those guys and then go out there and get those guys. And that's what it comes down to. I think there are some players that the Bears could still sign right now to bring in some stuff if they need to be, right? Asante Samuel Jr. I think that's a guy that the Bears could go out there and target also, right? His coverage matrix are absolutely great, right? He fits Dennis Allen's scheme as well. It's another guy that I think could make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. So that's a guy that I would have on the list as well. But let's just get the Bears, go out there, get the right guys that add to this team, add to the culture, and let's get this shit done. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.